I got this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Valley Chat. Pastor John Karolus here with Pastor Scott Seidler. We're upstairs at Mountain View, a space you may not even know exists, but one that we want to welcome you into as we are getting used to moving things around for the Shea Sanctuary renovation.
That is a true statement.
And it's going to be a lot of moving parts. It's going to be a big process. It's going to be a busy summer, sort of the work before the work gets started. How are you feeling about that, Pastor Scott?
You know, I'm anxious. If I'm honest, I'm anxious. And the reason why I'm anxious is because I don't know if you've noticed this, John, but human beings are physical things. We're not like angels. We're not ghosts. We have bodies and we like physical places. When you come to church, you sit in the same pew or the same chair every single week.
Yep.
I think of one of our congregation members who had an incredible lazy boy chair. That was his chair. And, you know, my dad had that. Your dad may have had that, Mom, too. We are moving around a lot of physical stuff, especially on our Shea campus. And that's going to change the physical experience that human beings have that have been gathering here at Shepherd for years. And with that comes a lot of anxiety, because when you mess with people's physical surroundings at a church, you're also affecting their spirituality. Yeah. That is a really important lesson for all of us to keep in mind as we make these changes.
Churches are special places.
They really are.
And significant things happen in churches. They're not just rooms we get into and spend some time together and then leave.
Right.
It's not like, the dining room at Olive Garden or, the drive-through at McDonald's. It's not this temporary space. It's meaningful. And when we are making significant changes to a sacred space, there's no way to escape the impact that that's going to have 100%. For good and for bad.
Right.
And so when we go through this process of making room for the construction to happen and going through the specific items that are on the shelves and in the closets and used to be on display and maybe haven't been displayed for a long time, we're trying to be careful.
Very careful.
Care-filled, really.
Yeah.
And humane about the changes that we're making, the things we need to find new homes for, the things that we're going to let go of, recognizing that as meaningful as some things are, there's a season for everything.
Yep.
And God's calling us into a new season of hospitality, a new season of Shepherd's visible presence in the community. And so there's a ton of enthusiasm and excitement for that, but also anxiety that comes with the changes.
That's for sure. And I'm grateful, for our building committee, Bob Jane, Tom Hitzler, Chris Andreessen, Steve Yonke, Peter Gray, Amy and John Schwab, who, I've really tasked them with helping us make sure that there is continuity between what has been and what will be, so that while we are moving into a new space with, new finishes and pathways of moving around the building, that there's still something familiar. And I think that's just a really important point. And familiarity has to do with spiritual things, like, for instance, what will the altar space look like on the Shea campus? There should be some continuity with what the space looks like now. And at the same time, recognizing that, okay, the desert browns and tans and dusty rose pew fabric
have had their moment.
They've had their moment. And we're not trying to make the place look corporate, but we realize that, there's much more of a very neutral white gray color palette that's in play right now in our America and will be for many, many years to come. So just always trying to find that balance. That is always the prayer.
And I love the way that the construction committee is so focused on meeting the needs of the congregation that they are a part of. They're ingrained in and have been a part of for decades, many of them. And so there's this heart on the committee that isn't just we're trying to force this thing through and get things done. It's really, how do we be faithful to the congregation that we are a part of, that we know and love, while also being good stewards of the things that God has blessed us with and the calling He's placed upon us to prepare ourselves for the next season of membership at Shepherd. Who are the people that aren't here now that will be here tomorrow that we can incorporate into this community in a meaningful way?
That's right.
It's pretty inspiring. And as someone who moved a lot growing up,
Yeah.
moved a lot in my life, you know, as someone who went to residential seminary, right, where you go to college and then you move to St. Louis, you maybe move apartments once or twice in St. Louis, then you go move to a church while you're an intern on vicarage,
Right.
and you move back to St. Louis, and then you move out of St. Louis to your first call or to some kind of intermediary space, in my case, back home, and then out here.
Yep.
Spaces have become less sacred for me personally. Right. And so I've lived in 5 different addresses in Scottsdale in 6 years.
Wow.
And
that's something.
It's so I have a lack of frame of reference when it comes to the meaning of a space. And the construction committee is so good at speaking into the needs and desires of our community.
Right. And at the same time, let me just say, this could get me in trouble, but I'd also like to say there is something valuable about having maybe less commitment to a space, because you can say, okay, remember that in the next 5 years, we expect to get to somewhere around 800 people in worship. So right now there's 350 people roughly in church this past weekend. It's the summer. At the height of our, winter guest time, we're at 500. So there's somewhere between 300 and 450 people that don't know the history that our Shepherd family has. And therefore, there is something to be said about just the sheer hospitality, the welcoming presence of a space. And for us to say, let's put some of the nostalgia and sentiment behind. And so I feel like, this is an I feel statement, John. We love our I feel statements in my and John relationship, that there's this really healthy tension of continuity, but okay, seriously. And I think that is just something I've been challenged over 30 years of ministry always to just be aware of. Like, we're not getting rid of the stained glass. I said to someone the other week, because they were talking about, maybe what would happen if we put this, next to the stained glass, or can we just take the stained glass out? And I'm like, no, I want a job when this gets done. I am not sacrificing my career for that solution.
And the stained glass is beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
And it's the story of Shepherd.
And so I said, friends, the continuity of the stained glass is sacrosanct. How about that for a word? Sacred sanctuary, sacrosanct. And yet at the same time, we're going to do some stuff with the ceiling that's going to make it even more of a beautiful place, and maybe, look a little bit more starkly different than what it is today. So
it's going to feel different.
That tension is good.
And knowing how to say it's going to be different, but it's going to be the same family inside.
It is.
And there's going to be different family members, and there's going to be the same family members. And ultimately, God is working in each of us to create in us people that are more like him.
Yeah.
And so in the process of that sanctification,
love it,
we are learning to set things down that previously were meaningful. We're learning to pick things up that will be meaningful. And so there is that level of spiritual growth that's happening in this very practical, very material side of a sanctuary renovation.
Right. Hey, let's do this. I got an idea. This is going to be fun. Thinking about the Shea campus renovation, let's do a 5 and 5. 5 things that are going to happily be the same after this is all done.
Yeah.
And 5 things that we need to prepare ourselves for being very different. So I'll start, because I was thinking about this as you were finishing up talking. Okay, so let's do things that'll be the same. Let's start in a safe space. 5 things that I know will be the same. Pastor Allen and Pastor Scott will still be preaching the same way that they preach today than as they do then. So the preaching will stay the same as far as the experience goes. We'll still be happy, effervescent, and Pastor Allen will still be using his pictures from the Holy Land. So that's going to happen.
Yeah, good.
Number 2, we will still be kneeling at communion. I'm excited about that. Like, we're putting in an architectural solution, because every Sunday, every week communion where we kneel is really just an important piece. And it's going to be really cool. The altar rail system is going to be really, really neat. The music is going to be just as beautiful and rich,
if not better.
And better, supported by the choir. the bells. It's just going to be great. So I've got 3 there.
Stained glass windows.
Stained glass windows are not going anywhere, nor is, here's my number 5. Thank you for that prompt. You don't get to use stained glass windows. Number 5, the cross and the altar experience will be more familiar than less.
Yeah.
Those are my 5 sames.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I love those sames.
Okay.
And I think just the feeling of the space being one where you walk in and you know that you can be a part of this community.
Yeah.
That's going to continue.
Yeah, right.
And if anything, on the days when the walls feel a little closer together because of how full it is, it's going to be set up in such a more hospitable way that you aren't going to be stressed trying to find a seat because you know they're all great seats.
Yeah.
And they're all a part of the experience.
Right.
If for some reason, this is a difference now.
Okay.
If for some reason you've got to leave the church service, maybe because of a little one in your life, or you just need, a drink of water.
I know where you're going.
You can do that without severing your experience of the worship service completely.
Right.
And needing to sort of live in this, we've got that vestibule entry narthex right now,
right,
that serves a very thematic and theatrical purpose in terms of entering the space. But in terms of its practicality,
right,
if you've got one crying child in there, as soon as the second one goes in, it's like the room is full of crying children.
Right.
And this new space is going to allow for there to be a more welcoming experience for those kids and those families. And there's going to be more space and breathing room. And that's going to be really great.
Yeah.
I don't have 5 and 5.
Okay.
So I'm not going to be able to hit 10 items.
Great.
But I am excited about how the blend of familiarity and sort of the rejuvenation of the space are going to work so well together.
They are. I'm going to go to differences because I think since we're
you got 5 more. Yeah.
I got 5 more.
You got to finish it.
Yeah, I might. One difference will be we won't have to leave the building in order to have fellowship. So we won't be going outside, although we'll have a nice exterior space if you want to sit outside when the weather's cooler. But we'll be having fellowship right outside the doors of the sanctuary with tables and bistro tables and whatnot.
Right in the atrium.
It's right there. And the coffee will be fresh. It'll be great. So that's the difference. I would say that the ceiling, this is something to be prepared for. The ceiling of the sanctuary is going to be a new experience. It's still going to be the same ceiling, but all of the clutter that's up there right now is going to be gone. And so it'll feel like a much more, it'll feel like a bigger room. It'll feel much more like a majestic room. To prepare yourself, the pews will be there, so that's the same, but they're going to be re-padded and upholstered, and it's going to be just a little bit of a different color experience. Color is a big deal for people, right? It's visually what we see, and so it may feel a little less warmer. So prepare for a little cooler room, but the warmth of our personalities is going to be just delightful. Those are 3 differences, and I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be a great project, and we're certainly excited about it. I think, as leaders and as members of the construction committee, and the renders that have been put on display are great pictures to help us envision what the space is going to be like. And as more decisions are made and details nailed down, as we get closer to groundbreaking and the actual fence being put up and the work being done, that familiarity of what things will look like is only going to increase. And we're excited to take that journey with you. Thanks for joining us today on Valley Chat. And as we continue through the summer, it's going to be a lot of fun. We might be recording here. We might be recording in other places, but we're excited to be walking with you spiritually, as a church, as friends. And we'll talk to you next time.